So I'd say the most important do is to have ambition. We're really in an era where if you have the will, political, administrative, organizational, to do it, everything else can happen. And we see, across the world, rich countries, poor countries, and the ambitions there, they find a will. And today the technology is changing so quickly that something that wasn't possible a year ago is possible today. And the one thing that will slow you down more than anything else is a mindset that you can't actually make the change. The other do is to be super transparent about your screw-ups and your mistakes and your errors. One of the reasons that we've managed to maintain the trust of our citizens, of our businesses, of everyone through 25 years of also making mistakes is that we're always very transparent when we've made a mistake. Whether that's a misuse of personal data, where we're open about it, the people who are involved in the misuse are disciplined, or a technological error, that gives people the confidence that there isn't some kind of boogeyman hiding under the sheets, and that what they see is what they get. And that gives them more confidence to take risks themselves, to rely on things. In terms of the don'ts, I guess what I just said are some don'ts. I think maybe the only don't I can think of is it's listening to the reasons why things can't be done. I mean, there's a lot of technical do's and don'ts, right? When you get into the specifics of any particular system. Maybe one thing I'll say is we're sometimes asked for the answer. What is the organizational setup or the technology? And while we're very happy to share what we've done, and we love it when people deploy the same technologies we have, what's more important is actually finding the set of tools that lead you to the outcome. So if what works as a country and your political setup, your administrative system is different to what works in ours, that's fine. Look at the results and look at what you're actually trying to do. So, we're big fans of what Sweden does in terms of how you have this sort of this collaborative model of industry, academia, and of course the government. And one of the things that I think we would like to do more with Sweden is to collaborate on that area. We've spoken a lot with Sweden, with Finland, with our other neighbors, building a Nordic deep tech valley where the universities work together. As it is, enterprises today are regional, and much of the blue chip companies in Estonia are Swedish companies, but there are many more ways to deepen that link. The other thing is, we've spoken a lot about specifically public sector digitization. I think you have a challenging situation with the way autonomy works in Sweden. It's similar to the federalism situation in Germany. And that's not a bad thing, right? I think the thing you have to figure out is how what matters about the autonomy is decision-making power, right? And I think what is important is that some of the technical decisions, some of the platforms, they have ramifications for who's actually making the choices, who's running life, but they're not actually coterminal with those decisions. So that the question of which data platform you're on or what solution you're using for a data center isn't necessarily the place where you worry that your local autonomy or regional autonomy is at risk. And so I think it's having the courage to combine forces without fearing that doing that will undermine your underlying autonomy. A lot of what we turn for inspiration to is what's happening in the private sector, when it comes to what the government should do. Because I think we're very good when it comes to public sector digitization, but our government is not any better than your average Fortune 500 company today in terms of digital transformation, AI use. It's just that governments everywhere across the world are less effective at making these changes or slower than many of the world's best companies. We look at some unusual suspects in terms of where innovation is happening. Right now, there's a huge amount of innovation going on in Ukraine, and unfortunately, they don't have much of a choice at the moment. But they started that journey before the war broke out in 2019. We're proud that some of what they've done has been inspired by us or copied from us, but they've really written their own story. We turn for inspiration to a lot of developing countries right now, emerging economies. We just, for instance, had the vice president of Ghana visiting last week, and if we look at what we're doing and what they're working on, it's a conversation of peers. Similarly, there are countries around Southeast Asia and Africa who are doing very inspiring things. So I think the important thing is that the inspiration is not where you necessarily would expect it to be. Of course, we look at Silicon Valley. Of course, we look at what Microsoft is doing, what the other big hyperscalers are doing. That goes without saying.